Being here today. My name is Jason Chavez, and I am the Minneapolis City Council member for the 9th Ward. I want to begin by acknowledging the fire yesterday at Camp Nenookaasi, the residents living at the camp, and the residents in Midtown Phillips that went under an extremely traumatic and painful moment last night. I'm here today because people's lives are beyond politics. I'm committed to working with the mayor, the city council, the county, the state, and our federal government to protect people's lives. I'm grateful for our first responders, including the Minneapolis Fire Department and Minneapolis Police Department, along with residents and organizers that worked hard to keep people safe last night and prevented anybody from dying last night. 2 people were treated on the scene, 1 for burns and 1 for smoke inhalation. And I'm also thankful to the providers that were on the ground yesterday helping our residents out. I'm also thankful to the supply depot that held an emergency response yesterday and helped community members in desperate need. They opened their building, gave residents shelter, food, and more. Today, I'm not here alone. We're here as a community that is demanding change. We're here with Avivo, the Twin Cities Recovery Project, they're all right here. Let Everyone Advance with Dignity, folks from Camp Nenookaasi, and my colleagues, Council Vice President Chuck Tai and Councilmember Chowdhury. We are here today because we agree on the need for a coordinated response to address unsheltered homelessness. Over the coming weeks, the City Council will be moving forward on 3 different ordinances to address unsheltered homelessness. First, we are hoping to establish a safe outdoor space ordinance. This will be modeled after Denver, Colorado, which had permanently housed over 170 people. This would be run by nonprofits or community partners, and they would need to go through a city permitting process, have security and safety on site, have supporters and providers on site to make sure that we can permanently house people. I want to be clear, this isn't legalizing encampments on sidewalks, despite what people may say in the media. This is a data-driven approach. Some cities have adopted tent structures, tiny home models, micro units. This is a temporary space that can provide permanent housing to our residents. Secondly, we will be helping to establish a humane encampment response policy. I am tired of our current approach, which is dehumanizing and throwing people away like garbage. It's imperative that the city moves away from a regulatory services response and toward a public health response that houses people first. One that works with our service providers. It is not helpful to continue with our current eviction policy that does not communicate with our service providers on the ground. They are the experts, they are the people that keep people housed, and yet the miscommunication in our current lack of policy is making this situation worse. Third, we are going to pass an encampment eviction reporting requirement. It is imperative that we know how much our current evictions are costing taxpayer dollars, how much city staff is being deployed to these sites, and how effective it is. I think we can all agree that millions of dollars can be well spent to permanently house our residents, protect residents in neighboring encampments safe, and improve the lives of people. Fourth, this council is ready to provide funding to service providers to help move people indoors. We want to help residents with healing efforts like treatment, culturally specific support, and permanent housing, and the council is ready to do that as well. The City Council also believes in having a plan to address this issue. Recently, the Public Health and Safety Committee approved our committee work plan that is expected to pass full council next week. We've already started tackling this issue by bringing experts to committee to help us move policy forward. We take this very seriously. The work plan outlines part of our unsheltered response plan, and it means that the council will be tackling a variety of issues. Utilizing best practices to reduce preventable deaths from overdose, exposure, and other causes among unsheltered populations. We will be overseeing and evaluating the city's effectiveness on their current response to homelessness and encampments. We will work and support preventative programs to intervene before residents become permanently unhoused. We will work towards establishing a cross-jurisdictional collaboration for encampment response. we need to work better with our different government agencies, including improvement on how data is compiled and shared with the public. Public transparency is desperately needed. And lastly, we will push to expand funding and support for long-term housing options for critically unsheltered residents. We aren't doing this work alone. In fact, we have a lot of partners here with us today, some that are not here as well, and we're going to be taking this issue very seriously. I first want to introduce Latricia, the CEO and co-founder of the Twin Cities Recovery Project, and Chris, who is here today too. Chris.
Hello, my name is Latricia Tate, and I am the CEO of Twin Cities Recovery Project. And I wholeheartedly recognize the gravity of addressing the recent fire incident at the encampment. However, as a leader within a recovery community organization, we actively and intentionally seek to provide services to those who reside in those encampments. And we hear firsthand the stories and the struggles of those individuals and families residing in those encampments. Those that reside there are real people, people with feelings and emotions, dreams and aspirations. Many are individuals who suffer from the disease of addiction and mental health. It's also important to acknowledge the underlying issues such as the shortage of housing, treatment beds, and shelter options that leave these individuals with nowhere to turn. So in my opinion, disposing of their tents, personal belongings, and their valuables while instructing them to relocate and treating them as less than human is not a viable solution to the homeless crisis we're experiencing. I believe collaborating with various organizations to establish 24-hour wraparound services can significantly reduce the challenges we are facing within these encampments. Providing on-site services would be a game changer for these residents, as it ensures they will receive support that they need in their current circumstances. It is also important that I stress the significance of treating every individual in the encampment with dignity and respect. We must explore alternative solutions that prioritize the humanity of these families over immediate eviction and disrespect. We must strive for sustainable solutions that preserve their dignity and well-being. I want to also add that in December of 2021, TCRP proposed to the city of Minneapolis the idea of the tiny village that was not funded. This initiative would allow for organizations like myself and others to come together and offer these homeless encampments wraparound services that they need on site. TCRP wants to be a part of the solution. We want to be at the table. And so we want to collectively come together and with an effective solution. Thank you.
My name is Christopher Burks, and I am a person in long-term recovery. Twin Cities Recovery Projects, we are a recovery community organization, and each and every staff member you see up here is a person in recovery. The reason why I'm so emotional is just 4 years ago, I was homeless. So I know the importance in having faith in people. Each and every individual we encounter out there is a person. At Twin Cities Recovery Projects, we emphasize harm reduction. And what harm reduction actually is, harm reduction concentrates on the person. not what the person's doing. We've been doing this work for a while. I'm now the program director, like I said before, but I used to be the outreach coordinator. So I used to go to the encampments every week. I know how important it is for us to go out there because those people, they look forward to seeing us. And one thing we notice when we do the work with these people, you go out there on a consistent basis, and it takes time for them to begin to talk to you. But by the time you get them to talk to you, what happens is the encampment's gone. Now it takes another 2 to 3 months to even find the person that you was trying to help. So it's very important that we do come up with some solutions and try to make this a better place. Twin City Recovery Projects, we do have 3 locations, 3400 East Lake Street. We also have another location called 1011 West Broadway on the north side. And we also have a partnership with the fire station. We have a partnership with the fire station because we believe in having a facility that stays open 24 hours. What happens if you want to get help at 9 o'clock at night when all the treatment facilities are closed or when all the other organizations are closed? So you can go to the fire station, which is Station 14, 2002 North Lowry, and you can tell them what you need and they will give us a call and we will come back and assess the situation. So I would like to thank my team for coming out today. These are the people that actually do the work, okay? All these people are in recovery themselves, and we love to do this work. Thanks very much.
I have Latasha, who is the program manager at Let Everyone Advance with Dignity.
Good afternoon. My name is Latasha Jennings. I'm the project manager for Let Everyone Advance with Dignity, also known as LEAD Minneapolis. We are an alternative public safety program that provides intensive case management services to individuals who are at risk for or who have contact with the criminal legal system due to underlying behavioral health needs, homelessness, and or extreme poverty. As of today, we have approximately 20 individuals from Camp Nenookaasi, all referred to us by Nicole Mason, 100% of whom have consented to engage in LEAD case management services. Our program is specifically focused on the East Lake Street corridor of South Minneapolis. It stretches to include the Camp Nenookaasi camp as well, up to 28th Street and 2 blocks south, down to 32nd Street. At any given moment in the city and county, we have approximately 500 to 600 individuals sleeping outdoors. And there is never enough shelter capacity in this city to meet that need. In the current context with limited shelter capacity, we need interim solutions to address the fact that we have residents in this city who have no other option but to sleep outdoors. I'm looking forward to working with the city and other community partners who are here today towards a sustainable and long-term solution that's rooted in the reality of the fact that we do not have the shelter capacity. We don't have the low barrier shelter capacity, shelter with wraparound services that really meets the intensive need of the individuals that we see living outdoors in this city. And so like I said, I look forward to working in the interim as we build up that shelter capacity over the long term for the city, because that is what the residents, both housed and unhoused in the city, need and what they deserve.
Thank you, Natasha. Next, we have John from Avivo that has a few remarks.
Noon. My name is John Trivett. I'm a service area director at Avivo. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the pain and trauma of the encampment residents at Camp Nenookaasi who have had yet another striking blow, which has created more pain, more displacement, a cycle that continues to be non-productive to long-term solutions. So that's an important thing to say because it's part of a traumatic, long-term historical context that's been happening. Avivo is deeply committed to work with any and all partners that are willing to work to solve and end homelessness. We stand in solidarity with the communities that are most overrepresented on the street, and we stand today here specifically in solidarity with the communities in the encampment, with the culturally based service providers who are the ones that we need to be listening to the most, and so I'm going to step aside. Thank you.
Thank you, John, from Camp Nenookaasi up here. But before I do that, I do want to acknowledge that it isn't just about Camp Nenookaasi, it's about encampments across the city of Minneapolis, and that we need a better plan as a city to address it and to move away from this form of punishment into this form of public health. So I just want to invite folks from Camp Nenookaasi here, while also acknowledging that there is more than just this camp in the city of Minneapolis. We have Nicole and Kristen.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Crabtree. This is Nicole Mason. We're organizers at Camp Nenookaasi. We want to thank all of these community partners who are here today that are in solidarity with us and our residents. We have been working hard for over 7 months now to work with the community members in our neighborhood and help them access the services and resources that they are worthy of having. It's because of the stability of us staying with the relatives that they have been able to access housing. We started with 236 people at Camp Nenookaasi. We now have 50 residents, and that's because they've been able to access the services offered by groups like this. Nicole, do you want to say some words?
Yeah, I just want to recap on how our camp is a cultural-based harm reduction encampment. I am a grateful woman in recovery as well. I am 3 years in recovery. And the difference between our camp is that we bring some of our cultural teachings and we bring the harm reduction. And for me, harm reduction is showing our people at Camp Nenookaasi and the people in encampments all over Minneapolis that we care and love them enough to save their lives if they're in an overdose. That's what harm reduction is. It's not just handing off clean needles or a bio bin. That's part of it. But it's showing them the love and the care, that we care enough to save them and that we love them here with us. Yesterday was very scary. I don't know what I would have done or if we would have lost anybody at our camp. I care about them all so much. I went to the other camp and I fell in love with them. Such wonderful people. The people on the streets, they are human beings too. They deserve to eat. They deserve to have a safe place to be. And encampments is not the solution. Evictions is not the solution. We need housing for people that are out there. They deserve a good place to live. And that's what we've been asking the whole time. This is a temporary spot because where else are they supposed to go? You tell me, you give me the solution where to take them. When a situation like yesterday or an eviction, where do we take them? You tell me, Mayor, where are we to take them if there's not shelter beds or there's no home to take them into? So until we house all the people at camp and we have a solution for people here, out in the houseless relatives and all the people, homeless people in South Minneapolis, here in Minneapolis, I'm not going anywhere. Kristen's not going anywhere, and we're going to continue to fight until we have solutions. So it's time to listen to the people, bring us to the table, and hear from the people on the streets that are living the situation so they can have some control over their lives. Listen to them, what their needs are. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, we're going to pass it on to Council Vice President Chuck Jai, who's going to finish us off here with council leadership, and then we'll be here to take questions.
Man, it's hard to follow. It's hard to follow Kristen and Nicole. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Chugtai. I'm a renter in the Whittier neighborhood. I am a council member to my community in Ward 10. I am someone who's experienced housing insecurity throughout most of my life. And my family and I have experienced homelessness. Ward 10, especially Whittier, the neighborhood I live in, has has been struggling with the crisis of unsheltered homelessness. For over a year now, I have lived within 6 blocks of an encampment, including one in my own backyard. As a Minneapolis resident, as Ward 10's council member, and as the vice president of the Minneapolis City Council, I know uniquely and personally that the status quo response from the Frye administration to this crisis is not working. We live in the wealthiest country in the world. Our city is the economic engine of our state. And when we see people living outside in encampments in conditions described by our colleague, Councilmember Osman, who himself lived in a refugee camp, as being worse than the conditions in refugee camps, we have to face the reality that we are seeing a policy failure at every system level, at every level of government. It is a fact that unsheltered homelessness is the unsheltered homelessness crisis is a product of generations of disinvestment in public and affordable housing, in social services, in mental health care, and so many more things. Encampments are not dignified housing. They are not a permanent solution for anyone. But the reality is that the status quo at every level is a failure. Specifically in the city, the whack-a-mole approach we see from our mayor and his administration is not getting us any closer to a solution, and it is harming the most vulnerable residents in our city, and it is keeping them from being able to access the support and the housing that they need. As a policymaker and as a leader in this city and of this city council, I'm here with my colleagues and with service providers and with impacted residents to say that enough is enough. I'm proud to be working alongside council members Chavez and Chowdhury to craft policy solutions that are evidence-based best practices. And I'll end with this. Unsheltered homelessness is a solvable crisis, and we should never lose sight of that. With the courage and the will of every government body involved, we can make sure that the nearly 500 people who are living outside in Minneapolis and in our surrounding suburbs in Hennepin County, that every single person is housed and cared for with the dignity and care that they deserve. Our city council is ready to do the work to meaningfully address this crisis, and I really thank you all and everyone who's here with us for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll stand for some questions.
Question for just anyone within city leadership. Today, we were at the encampment where there was the fire yesterday, and city crews were there putting down, concretes. We've seen that done before at some sites. I'm curious if you can provide just some, kind of pull back the curtain for folks to understand how the city has that happen, what kind of channels of communication does that go to where that's being done, and then maybe a reaction to that is happening, and that's the decision that was made this morning.
So you're talking about the concrete rubble on the ground that gets slapped onto the ground at some encampment sites. My reaction, I'll start with that. That is thousands of dollars that are being spent to throw rubble on the ground in a majority people of color neighborhood instead of using that money to permanently house people and address treatment and addiction. So it is frustrating that we are using money for rubble in a location where nobody's going to return back into anyways, and then wasting taxpayer dollars. Now, in regards to how that happens, I don't get to make that decision. I would recommend you reach out to the mayor's office, as that is an administrative decision.
And then secondly, we heard the mayor's comments yesterday at a press conference. I guess, how far is the gap, or how big is the gap between the mayor's approach and how the mayor feels about this conversation or this issue and the city council at this point, would you say?
I hope that we're not far off. We, at the press conference, you all probably asked about solutions. I did not hear any solutions or answers to solutions. We're here showing up, providing those solutions, and something we hope the whole city council and the mayor support. So we're here today announcing pathways forward to address this crisis. At the press conference yesterday that I heard, there was no solutions being presented.
Have you had discussions with the mayor about your proposal?
I've had discussions with his administration about some of these policies, yes.
What's been the reaction?
I told them, so I met with one of his staffers this week. I let them know that these are 3 different ordinances that we are working on, and that to not allow them to get scared about what we're doing. We're not legalizing encampments in the city of Minneapolis. We're not legalizing encampments on sidewalks. That is not what we're doing. What we're saying is that we need a dignified approach, and that we need to do and conduct a direction towards what we're doing. We don't want to be a city that punishes people that are poor. We want to be a city that uplifts our community members that are struggling. So I had a conversation with his staffer this week. We're planning to have a meeting with them to talk about our ordinances when that time comes.
You have 9 votes if he doesn't like this.
We have votes to get this done.
Does that mean an override or just to pass it?
We haven't reached out to every single council member, but we have votes to get this policy done. And I hope that the mayor supports this. And I think he can get there because we really want to work with him to address this issue.
So the mayor's have been disagreeing, saying that he thinks the response has been working. I guess I'm wondering in terms of how the city's trying to get people housed. What are your main issues with how the city has been trying to help get encampment residents housed?
Let's ask the people of Ward 9. Let's ask the people of East Phillips, Midtown Phillips. Let's ask people on North Side. There are encampments all over the city of Minneapolis. There are people sleeping in the cold at night. Our response is not working. We're here today to provide solutions. So the report you're talking about, it was reported in the Star Tribune because that is the truth. If we addressed homelessness, if we solved homelessness, there would be nobody sleeping outside.
Specifically to the safe outdoor spaces, if any nonprofits express interest, if you reached out, who is going to be interested in doing that?
We continue conversations with...
We have a provider here.
Yeah, we've got providers here. We continue conversations with any and all providers who are interested in leading this work.
I guess that's what I'm asking is who is
Twin Cities
interested.
Recovery Project has expressed interest.
And if for the permits that you mentioned for safe outdoor spaces, would it have to be a group like these that would apply? Can an individual apply?
It would be a nonprofit organization, community partners that we would work with to permit this, yes.
Jason,
So it wouldn't be like an individual, me as Jason Chavez wants to establish a safe outdoor space with micro units at 29th and Lake Street. It would have to be such organization, nonprofit, community partner wants to set up a safe outdoor space that can have tent structures, micro units, outdoor villages that are tiny, a variety. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you. You say there's someone who has expressed interest or no?
Twin Cities Recovery Project has expressed interest. They brought this up years ago. There's probably a Star Tribune article out there that talked about it too.
It was mentioned, maybe this is Kristen or Nicole, that there has been a pretty significant reduction in the population of the camp. What has worked? And what approaches there that maybe need to continue to be pursued or doubled down on to continue that success?
The model of why people at Camp Nenookaasi, the number of people being permanently housed, why it's working is because people like Nicole and Kristen and people at Camp Nenookaasi offering cultural-based treatment and healing support. Their efforts to help people recognize people as human beings and support them in a culturally responsive way is what is actually helping permanently house people. So we should be following people that know the communities, that work with the communities, and help follow their lead on how we solve this crisis.
So these are folks that have been found permanent, stable, and affordable housing?
There's been city contracts that have worked with Camp Nenookaasi to help permanently house people. And I will say this, and I've said this in committee meetings multiple times, those people would have not been permanently housed if it wasn't for the support of people at Camp Nenookaasi.
So what needs to be then continued to be pursued to continue that success?
Yeah, we need a variety of things. Cultural-based treatment, that is a big thing. We need to focus on treatment. We also need to have low-barrier housing. If you look across the city of Minneapolis, there is a lack of low-barrier housing. If you use substances, you may be denied from a location. You may not have space at a shelter or permanent house. And we need to address that. We need to address places like Avivo Village. We need one in South Minneapolis. I've been pushing that for years. If we can have one in South Minneapolis and help permanently house an extra 100 people, we're getting close to addressing this crisis head on.
Councilmember?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
I wanted to add a little bit of context to that question of, what is it about Camp Nenookaasi that's working? As a case management provider, what I wanted to add is that a piece of it is the relationships. Nicole knows every individual in that camp. And when something happens, for clients that are engaged in our case management services, she calls me or someone texts us and lets us know. We had a client that experienced a medical emergency last week. We wouldn't have known about that likely, and we would have been searching for that individual had it not been for Nicole, Kristen, letting me and my team know, they figured out where that individual was before we did and got that information to us. That is huge, just to have individuals in community who know the names, the favorite foods of the individuals. They often know what people need to start working on, whether that's navigating criminal legal system matters, what health issues they may need to have addressed, long before that individual might feel comfortable telling my team that that's what they need or what they want. So it really gives us a jumping start, a head start, to have people like Nicole who know people really well, and not on just a surface level, but know them and understand them and care for them and really want better for them, and who advocate on behalf of them even when they don't necessarily have found that voice to advocate for themselves.
Council members, could you please clarify?
Can I actually just quick jump in on that question? So just to tie the thread of what the last two speakers have said, there are a number of strategies from Camp Nenookaasi that we can learn and apply then to all encampments in our city. The access to culturally specific services, the access to relationships, each person in the camp having unique casework that's specific to them, their condition, all of that is important. So is being able to keep track of every person who's living in an encampment. Every encampment eviction displaces people. It takes service providers weeks, months, we heard, to find people again, and that slows down how quickly we're able to properly get them into housing, get them into the other healthcare needs that they might have, including addiction services support. So the stability of knowing where people are and being able to keep track of them is a very important part of this thread. Sorry, go ahead.
We have one more answer to that question, and then we'll pass it to you. And then you, Aaron, after.
I'm Abu Sadiq, and one of the things that we see is that we talk about affordable housing. A lot of people out there work jobs, but they can't afford the rent that these places have. You know, if you work a 40-hour job making $8 an hour, that's less than $800 in 2 weeks. Rent for a one-bedroom is $1,200. Most of these people can't afford that. And then you have these management companies. Now you can meet all the criteria, but they go a background check on your credit, and that gets you out the door. So we've got to change those policies, and we got to get affordable housing for people.
Yeah, we do got to have affordable housing. Rent stabilization is a part of homelessness prevention. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could please just clarify the next steps of the three ordinances.
Yep.
When will they be formally introduced?
Yep.
What meetings?
Yeah, so we did a notice of introduction. The following council meeting, we did a referral to staff. So right now, myself, Council Vice President Chuktai, Councilmember Chowdhury, are all working on finalizing the policies to then bring forward. The timelines would be about
Next several months.
Yeah.
In the next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we will be sure to announce that to make sure people can follow it and the public can have input on it.
Where would it go first, committee-wise?
So the Safe Outdoor Space Ordinance would go to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, the Humane Encampment Response Policy, Public Health and Safety, and the Eviction Encampment Reporting Ordinance, from my understanding, Public Health and Safety too.
And when did you say you hope to have it actually drafted?
We already began drafting. We're working as quick as we can because we know that this is an emergency that needs to be addressed. We're hoping the next couple months.
Best case scenario, when do we see a vote potentially?
By summer.
Summer?
Yeah, best case scenario. And in regards to the stuff about encampments, we also we can learn from encampments across the city of Minneapolis and learn how they are approaching their different strategies and figure out how we can best approach this crisis. So we're learning from Camp Nenookaasi in regards to culturally specific treatment and support, and we can also learn from other people that are unhoused across the city and how we can better approach this issue, and it's part of the work that we want to do.
And when you talk about a humane encampment response plan, I guess I'm just wondering, is that everything? Is that offering services to people in a case of an emergency, kind of anything?
For sure. So the number one thing is that right now, as a city of Minneapolis, we have no policy. The only policy we have on the books is that encampments in the city of Minneapolis are illegal, which means that there is no policy that requires the city of Minneapolis to allow the storage of personal belongings. The city does have contracts to store people's personal belongings, but if it's not a policy in place, it can be violated. So we want to make sure that it's an ordinance so our city is held accountable. Second, we want to make sure that there is ample time for timing, right? Right now, there has been surprise evictions of specific camps, and what happens is service providers lose contacts with their clients. We cannot allow that to happen any longer. We want to allow public health services, for example, making sure that there's Narcan, bathrooms, hand washing stations, making sure that there could be fire extinguishers to make sure that fires don't happen at encampments. So we're still going to go more deep into this policy, but that's part of the things that we are exploring as a council. And what we want to do is just establish a policy so the city knows that it has to follow it.
Is there room for a quick safety question, just
Yes.
in directly responding to what happened yesterday? I know you guys have talked about how scary that was for everybody involved in the immediate as the camp has been built back up. Is there anything maybe camp organizers, maybe the city can say to just speak to safety going forward or avoiding any future fires? I know just we're kind of expecting a dangerous fire season with just the lack of precipitation and stuff like that. Just speaking to going forward, the immediate safety of residents, both in the encampment and those who live around it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an ongoing question, and that's why we're working on a policy. There is no policy right now that allows for the safety of residents in encampments and allows for safety of people in the surrounding neighborhoods. And we want to make sure that we address part of that in the ordinance that we are doing. We don't get to decide operational decisions. That is just not the role of the city council or the legislative body. We set policy and we figure out how to get it done. That being said,
Also, just to kind of address that as well, we actually have requested from the administration, we had requested electricity so that we wouldn't need to use other means to keep people warm. It's Minnesota. In the winter, if people are outside, they can freeze to death. This is life-saving. So we have been trying to do everything we can to keep people safe. People can't heal and people can't recover if they're not alive to do it. We've asked the city for this kind of help and we've been rejected. We had another situation with a fire that was started by somebody outside of the camp, and we called 911 and asked for help, and that was last Monday. And we still haven't gotten any response about ways to keep people warm and safe. We've asked for safe places to be. That has not come from this administration. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. I was at Walmart last night, late at night, buying fire extinguishers. I was out there buying fire extinguishers days earlier. We're constantly doing everything we can to keep people as safe as possible with the resources we have. And unfortunately, the resources we have are not coming from the government. The resources we have are coming from our neighbors and our community. We're taking care of each other in the absence of any kind of meaningful policy. Thanks.
And to add to that, question, my office is committed regarding, today is talking about encampments overall, but regarding Camp Nenookaasi and Ward 9, my office is committed to working with the camp and folks in the area that are stressing out and making sure we can figure out how we can keep people safe. That being said, we are policymakers, legislative body. We don't do the operational decisions.
Councilmember, I have two questions, both related to seeking solutions. One is going to be for City Council. I guess I'll start because you're here. The other is for more kind of like boots on the ground. But basically, my question for City Council members, I just put a post asking some of my followers what they think might be some ideal solutions. And overwhelmingly, the response I got was, there are so many abandoned buildings in Minneapolis. Why can't we turn any of them into immediate housing? And what can we say about like City Council maybe proposing some kind of related to that?
Thanks, Aaron. I actually saw that post and was reading through the comments because people were offering pretty substantive and great information. When it comes to the vacant building question, what I'll say is that the council is committed to funding indoor location. If it is a vacant building, we are committed to finding money, working with our other government agencies to do just that. And we are committed to finding and helping work with service providers that can help us do that work. So that is work that the council is very much interested in. We're happy to move forward. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. And again, this next question is for some of the service providers. I have been around for several evictions, and I just am kind of curious, you know, one thing just through conversations I've had with some service providers is there are many barriers that are preventing them from doing their jobs coming from the city. I've seen the police be disjointed completely from Hennepin County services. Just one example, like they don't even know each other's existence, basically. So I just was wondering if anyone can speak on what are some challenges that you all might face in your experience that might contribute towards sort of. Thank you.
My name is Daniel Weckman. I'm the outreach coordinator for Twin Cities Recovery Project. I can speak to the 26th encampment eviction that happened. Twin Cities Recovery Project had a plan to go out with Navan Wellness Center, a cultural specific treatment center. And by the time we actually were able to enter the camp, everybody was displaced. We had in line about 6 people that were interested in getting into treatment, and we planned on getting them in that day. And by the time we got access to the camp, they were nowhere to be found. So that's one example of that.
Hi, I'm Jamal Kling. I work at Twin Cities Recovery Project. So, speaking on the same day, like, I came there separately. And I know that there are some individuals that were put in place by the police department to guide some of these community organizations in to help the encampment. And I had to sit there and argue with the police department that we've already been in here, we're already accepted in here, and why can't people come in there to help? And it was brought to me that, one, it's nobody's really that's going in there is helping. That's the view from the police department. The second view was that, sitting here having to argue with this individual about like just trying to help somebody. I'm like, y'all are standing around and watching, but you're not helping. So I know for myself, like, it wasn't until my community stand up for me and actually looked at my substance use, my mental health, my criminality, and realized that it was a substance use and not a criminality, and gave me a shot. When my community stand up for me, I'm talking about Rice County, Faribault, Minnesota. I was facing 10 years for myself for those 3 things. For the criminality, I was given the opportunity, a chance. Now it's been 3 years later. I'm a productive member of society, which is something that a lot of us strive for. For myself, I was in that encampment on my last date of use, my last week. Finally realizing, going into these encampments and being around these people and realizing that we are all just trying to find a place to live. And society has put it on us to allow it that we don't have a voice, we don't have an opportunity, we don't have a place to live because we are criminals, because we have mental problems, because we have substance use. And those 3 things are vital of what keeps us and a lot of us out here. It keeps us going back out there, wanting to relapse and have reoccurrences, want to go out there and continue to find ways to just be accepted by everybody. Accepted by this society that says that we ain't nothing. But that's not the fact, because a lot of them and a lot of people that are out there, and a lot of my family and friends that are out there, they have good goals, good dreams. They thrive to be a part of this society, but society is not allowing it. Government is not allowing it. Policy is not allowing it. Our Constitution does not allow it. We constantly sit here and want to come up with a solution. Stop making it about good, evil, right, wrong, and just help people.
Yes.
Open your hearts, open your arms. Give a hug. Peace and love.
All right, we're gonna wrap up unless there's one last question.
Is it possible to get the spellings of names of people who spoke?
Yes, if you spoke, can you please come over here so we can make sure the media has your name right? And we're good. Maybe I want to point to who, and then they can spell it out loud.
So altogether, a lot of people.
Okay, if you spoke, please come over here.
Like Latricia and Chris, I think
Christopher had to leave so I can spell his name.
Thank you.
It's CHRISTHPOR. What's spelled?
What is his last name?
Christopher.
Burks is BURKS.
Yep.
What's yours?
So my name is Latricia Tate, LATRICIA TATE.
I'm Abu Asidiq, ABU ASSIDIQ.
Latasha Jennings, LATASHAJENNINGS.
I'm Kristen Crabtree, CHRISTINCRABTREE.
John Tribbett, John Tribbett, Avivo, Avivo. Thank you.
Aisha Chuktai, that's Aisha. My last name is Chughtai.
Daniel Weckman, last name Weckman, first name Daniel, Daniel, Outreach Coordinator, Twin Cities Recovery Project.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Thanks for answering.
My name is Jamal Kling, Jermalekling. Thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering all our questions.
Thank you all.
I mean, it's just so crazy. I feel like we